everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erickson here with the 2020 Draft Champions, overall champion, host of the Pull Hitter Podcast, and many other NFBC titles to his name, Rob DiPietro. Rob, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for having me. So cool to be on the RotoWire podcast. I just want to, relay my thanks to you when I first was getting into the podcast game, or at least thinking about it, and getting my listening to as many podcasts as I can. Then COVID hit, but you and Scott really, and then you and Jeff. Thank you. You guys just really held out the fort. You kept the grind up every day, and we were all stuck in our houses and being oppressed. And you guys, just really lifted my spirits on most days when I could just go outside with my dogs and put my headphones on and listen to the podcast. So I really appreciate that. And you guys, I did I took a lot of notes on what I wanted to do in my podcast, and a lot of the positive things I wanted to, I had a list of what to do and what not to do. And a lot of what to do came from this podcast. So
I'm sure there's a little bit of what not to do too, but that's okay. As we are learning our way around, especially, upgrading like tech stuff, we used to have, I used to have an awful tech solution. Now it's acceptable at least. So I got that going for me. It used to be like we get positive, we like the guys, but the sound's terrible. And we get all these bad reviews. So appreciate that. But
it's great job.
Thank you. It's fun. Well, great job to you, because your podcast kicks butt. You do a lot of research and you give out these detailed outlines. When Scott and I joined you earlier this year, it was really in depth. I was like, wow, you did your research. I love that. You really dig in, and I think that's one of the things that people can learn is, I could learn a little bit better is in preparation. You're very well prepared, and you can tell.
Thank you. I think it's just being able to have some great guests on my show, and just being able to talk to the pioneers of fantasy baseball. I just wanted to make sure I was going to extract as much as I could out of it. So I put my time and effort into, just really making sure, I got as much as I can out of it. I didn't want to miss a thing,
Right on. I hear you on that. Okay, let's jump right into the news, because there's a lot of it. Trey Turner, happy birthday yesterday. Hits for the cycle, over 100 hits already this season. There's been a lot of guys that have had first rounders that have had problems this year, injury or otherwise. Trey Turner is not one of them. He's delivered on anything that you paid for him.
Oh, he has. He's just a stud. I just looked up his value from the auction calculator on Fangraphs, and $32 and 12 teamers and $34 and 15 teamers. Just really steady. Last year and this year combined, he has 600 plate appearances and 137 games, 325. 26 homers, 30 stolen bases. Just awesome. And one thing I noticed too is just being able to pull out his cycles game after game. It seems like he's really he peaked at like a 43% pull percentage in 2019. The last 2 years he got it down to 34.5, and I think it's just that spray ability and that speed. He's just with the ability to go yard every now and then. Just a stud. I was lucky to get him. I only have one share of him in the NFBC, but he's part of my online championship squad. I only did one team this year, but I happen to be in the top 20 overall, and he's a huge part of it for sure.
Sure. It's hard to get a stolen base guy that does everything else, and he does everything else. 14 homers. That's the thing.
He's amazing.
People didn't realize the power is going to be there. We get so much talk, and justifiably, about Vlad, about Tatis, about Acuna, Shohei Ohtani. But Turner is a fantasy MVP also, and the fact is, he probably gets a little less pub, but he's a guy that's going to go pretty high again next year. You go Trey Turner or Juan Soto next year?
Oh, Trey Turner. I was going Trey Turner this year, and I'll do it next year too. I don't believe that Juan Soto is that 330 hitter that everyone thinks he is. He's worm burning the ball with that 53%, 51% ground ball percentage. I still think he's going to be a valuable asset, but I don't think he's a top 5 pick like everyone scrambled to get him this year.
Yeah, I think that, and the thing is, I think he was taking watching some film of Eric Hosmer or something there. They trying to hit those ground balls over the fence. But I think he'll get some elevation, because he's hitting, Soto's hitting the ball hard. He's just not getting a whole lot of elevation. He is trying to run. He got his 4th stolen base yesterday. I think there is a monster second half coming, but it's still his overall numbers are going to fall short of our expectations. But I would be willing to bet he's still first round quality next year.
Yeah, I would think he's first round quality. I just be hesitant about the projection for the batting average, and just like you mentioned, he had you're trying to steal a little more. He had a hamstring injury, shoulder injury, so he's got the lower half of his body that he needs to drive the ball, and his upper half that might be still affecting him. So maybe he can get a little healthy over the All-Star break if he doesn't participate in the game, and get healthy for the second half.
Right on. 3 weeks ago, people were talking about maybe Max Scherzer being on the trade market, best pitcher perhaps on the trade market. Yeah, that's not happening now. 2 games over 500. They've been on quite a roll, won 4 in a row, 8-2 in the last 10. They've had a good series against your Mets over the weekend. And
they did.
They're the big weekend for them. They're hosting the Dodgers starting tonight, weather permitting. We've already seen the Phillies game get rained out, but we'll see about whether this game, I know there's some rain in the area in DC too, but we'll see about that. But big series for them. We spent a lot of talk about Schwarber, justifiably. We spent a lot of time talking about him on Tuesday. Fred and I did. And, I think that they might be buyers now and not sellers.
It's really amazing. Like you said, we were talking about Scherzer, we were talking about Brad Hand, start speculating on, Daniel Hudson, all these things, right? That we just building a list of things to do. And I just think, Starlin Castro still hasn't really hit that well. Carter Kieboom is finally, showing his promise again in the minors too. So, and I love the platoon that they have at first because Ryan's, good old Zimmerman can still smash the ball, and Josh Bell looks like he's starting to improve. So and Joe Ross, I think Joe Ross has been a huge part of that. He's totally completed a renaissance season, changed the way he pitched. Yeah, and he's it's helped a lot. I think you're right. I think they might become buyers. They got some talent in the minors that they could bring up, and it's just impressive that how they've been doing it. Like little by little, adding these older, vets that you don't think would be beneficial to the team, like Josh Harrison and Jordy Mercer, and they're just, they're filling in and they're doing their job, kind of like the Mets, when they had their injuries and all the vets that they signed in the offseason that everyone's like, whoa, where are these guys going to play? And they really helped out. So a testament to the GM for really setting the depth of the team to help out.
For sure. And, it's kind of like when Howie Kendrick had such a big year in 2019, and, just mixing and matching all that. They lost Rendon and they haven't really been able to directly replace him. I still think that they need to make a trade. I mean, with a rotation with Lester and Espino in there and Fetty when he's not hurt, getting Strasburg back will help, but I hate that line of thought. Like, oh, Strasburg is our trade deadline acquisition. No, it's still not enough for the playoffs at least. So I'd like to see them get one more guy.
Right. And there's some starters out there that they can definitely try to go out and get. So it'll be interesting to see if they make a push for that for sure.
Yeah, so we'll see about the Nats. Big day in scoring yesterday. We had 2 wild games. I tweeted a question out earlier. Has there been a day when 2 MLB teams on the same day have scored 7 runs in the first inning and still lost? Because that's what happened yesterday. The Cubs amazing. First in Milwaukee, and then the Yankees getting to Shohei Ohtani last night, up 7-2 after 1, and then giving up 7 in the 9th. It's just a wild, high-scoring day.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I think it's, with the Brewer game, it's just again, you get these rookies that are coming up and getting smashed in the first inning. Andy Ashby got brought up. He was stretched out as a starter in the beginning of the minors, and then they were like kind of reducing his load to bridge him into a reliever, and they brought him up, and he just didn't look like he was ready at all. Still looked like a good prospect going forward, but a lot of these rookies are coming up and just really not having a good time, especially in the first innings. Never mind the third time around or the second time around, they're struggling the first time around. The Yankee game was just wild. Chapman just looks like he lost the strike zone for the last 3 games.
He's awful right now.
Yeah, he's really awful like that. And, he's just look at like the stuff that he normally dominates, like, the last 4 games and his own contact's 100% compared to like his 71, percent. And just, he's not hitting the strike zone. 50% first strike, and just, leading to bad,
Right.
Bad counts. And guys are barreling up against him. His barrel percentage is extremely through the roof this year too. So it'll be interesting to see if they give him a little reset, a little break, and I guess might be a little weekend to speculate on Chad Green and Jonathan Loizaga. I think they'll
Right.
probably be, and even if they don't get saved, they're still good pitchers. Like Chad Green is 40 innings pitched, and he just been, his old self. And Weizsäcker's got 7 wins and 3 saves. So, these guys can be valuable. And and I think Britton comes off the IL, might be coming off the IL on July 6th. So, let's see what happens with Chapman. But I feel like he goes through these, little bursts every now and then. But this one might be, his velo dropped. The spin rate is not like crazy off like a lot of these other guys. But so there's something off there for sure.
Yeah, last 8 outings, 11 earned runs, 12 runs total, 5 2/3 innings, 13 hits, 8 walks in that stretch too. That's the thing that's really eye opening.
Yeah.
And even if those guys don't close, as you alluded, Loizaga's got the wins. That's not a bad play anyhow. We were doing like Fab last week, and I was looking at all the streaming guys, and they're awful. I know there's been a thread on season long fantasy Twitter talking like, why would you stream some of these 2-start guys? Matt Manning, I think, was the hot button guy. A lot of people chiming in and on that, and it's just out of desperation. Maybe we're better off just trying to steal good innings out of some of these guys until we get some prospects called up, till these pitchers kind of get a feel, so to speak, on how to deal with this new climate gripping the ball.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. 2 weeks ago, when the Mets had like eight games in 1 week, I picked up Lugo everywhere I could just to just to get the backup save. But I also realized they had like 24 games in 22 days before the All-Star break, like way more than anyone else. And just thinking, just gobbling up those good innings from Lugo. I know he was a popular part of the Franken. I forget the name of the way to build a roster, a rotation with arms like Lugo and Weizsäcker, who could just come in and give you great ratios and strikeouts and maybe the occasional save. So yeah, I think that's something you definitely have to think about going forward, especially as we see, like we mentioned, just the pitchers that are coming up from the minors and just really getting blown up. And I think the teams are going to have to rely on more and more of these guys. It just makes me wonder, like, where guys like Rick Porcello are, like, where is he? I'm sure someone could use Rick Porcello.
Yeah. Maybe he's decided to step away. I don't know. Maybe, sometimes it's like there's that quiet step away, and, he didn't get the offer he wanted. And then after that, didn't want to put in the work. I remember like Jermaine Dye kind of just disappeared from baseball that way.
Wow.
I felt like there's a couple others in that era.
That's a great name, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's wow. That's Jermaine Dye. I haven't heard that name in a while. He had that great batting stance too. Oh,
yeah,
man.
he did.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And, but you never know. Some of these guys kind of just have the quiet retirement, but and the great thing about Loizaga and a couple other of these high leverage relievers is they sometimes can go 2 innings, which means you're getting like 4 or 5 Ks. I mean, some of our starters aren't getting 4 or 5 Ks. Hell, Giolito got 1 K in his last outing. Right. The Twins today didn't get their first strikeout until the 7th inning. So Barrios isn't providing it either sometimes. I mean, we're in a weird era right now.
Yeah, this is a strange time for sure. And like you mentioned, the multiple inning stint for sure. Like, I think him and Chad Green both have over 10 appearances, with at least an inning or 2 innings. I think they both have 6 appearances each with 2 innings. So yeah, definitely can gobble up innings that way for sure.
The Milwaukee Brewers are on fire. They had that huge comeback against the Cubs yesterday. Willy Adames. It's been a nice little addition for the Brewers. I think they're like 19-7 since they got him. Something really super strong. I think that was at least that's what they were in June. And of course the Rays, they're not hurting either. They're in second place, I should say. The Red Sox are kind of pulling away a little bit, but they got a reliever which they desperately needed. But Adames, I mean, that was a perfect feeling, because as much as Luis Urias can hit, he can't field. He was not a good shortstop defensively there.
Right. Yeah, I think it's 27-11 actually.
Yeah, that's
with Adames. And I just love watching the game. Just analytics and stats aside, you just see the energy, you see the passion, you see him going over to guys and putting his arms around them, talking to them like true leader. True sense of being a leader. And I think I think he's out to prove too that maybe you shouldn't have traded me, or, obviously he might have saw the writing on the wall, but, this kind of stuff really sparks players. And I know he always complained about the batting eye in Tampa Bay. You can really see the difference. And, I think before the trade, the Brewers had a WRC plus of 81. Now it's 100. They had a WARB of 289. Now it's 317. A lot of that had to do with Colton Wong getting healthy and coming back too. But I totally agree with Urias too, just moving over to third base, and he's settled in at the bat. And this team is pretty interesting, because I feel like if Yelich can just find a little bit of a stride with Avisale smashing a ball as well, and maybe to get Vogelbach and Shaw too back from injury, they could be something to reckon with. Sure.
Yeah, I think so. And they face the Pirates this weekend in Pittsburgh. Pirates are coming off a 3-game series in that tough hitters park known as Coors Field, where they only scored 2 runs. Bizarro times for the Pirates. They go to St. Louis, win 3 out of 4, pound those pitchers, and then just get absolutely shut down in Colorado. Weird times.
So much for the Kevin Newman Monday to Thursday stream. Yeah, that one went right out the window.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unfortunately, if you had Colin Moran, you lost him to a fractured wrist. Although I don't know, I guess, because that kind of bottom half of that lineup is still pretty weak. Brian Hayes is still a player. Frazier is going to get traded by the deadline. Someone's going to want Frazier, I think. Brian Reynolds is having a year too. So that's the part that surprised me, is that top half couldn't just scrape anything together.
I'm super happy about my 67% share of Brian Reynolds I bet in the NFBC this year. He's a guy he's just a guy I focused on pretty much every team, just building that outfield depth. I know a lot of people like to build outfield depth differently. I like to build it throughout a draft. I just think that, especially now, trying to fab and just looking at outfielders, it really hasn't been pretty. So I'm glad I kind of went that route and stocked up on the Connors and the Brian Reynolds of the world, and Adam Frazier too.
That's nice. I mean, it's funny. It's, you got to try to, you got to identify that it's a good buy low. He had a 2-month bad season last year. I mean, the Pirates almost collectively did. The only guy that didn't was Hayes.
Right. Yeah. And Hayes looks like, I like his skill set a lot, and I just like his energy, and, just having that veteran background with his dad playing. It's just, it's different with those players. They just have a different feel of the game for sure.
They do. Yeah. Mark Canha, got bad news on him that he needed a PRP injection in his hips, both of them, I think. And, obviously they've gone this route a little bit with Matt Chapman, and it took him a while. He eventually needed, a longer time off. I don't know if Canha's needing surgery, but he's not back until after the All-Star break. And that's actually a pretty big loss for the A's. Yeah,
it definitely is. I just looked at the numbers since he went out, and have 18 runs in 6 games, and a 54 WRC plus, which is last in Major League since he left. And Ramon Laureano is batting 204 since he came off his IL stint with 0 stolen bases. He looks like he has 0 desire to run, and even in the outfield, he just looks like he's missing that bolt. Speaking of bolt, Sky Bolt and Pinder and Seth Brown has just not been the answer, and Tony Kemp, just going to come back to earth pretty soon too. So that team's in trouble for sure without Canha.
Yeah, I mean, they've been able to hang in there because Houston's struggling lately. They've lost 5 out of 6 to Detroit and Baltimore, which didn't see that coming here. They're supposed to be in this good stretch of schedule. Although they are, the other thing though true about that is, opponent aside, they're also facing, they're also playing like 25 games in 25 days or something like that too, or 20 games in 20 days. And Urquidy just got hurt the other day. Second trip to the IL for him with that shoulder. They're saying it won't be long, but got to worry a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely have to worry about that for the multiple times for the same injury. Well, they said it was a different part of the shoulder. But, if you read into that, like if you think intuitively, it's just like, all right, well, one part of the shoulder is compensating to the other part. So that's why those injuries keep occurring like that. It's a good thing they still have really 5 solid starters that they're rolling out. And, they got some depth in the minors if they want to bring up, and, even guys like, Brian Abreu and, just those pitchers that we kind of thought that might give him a shot in the arm through the pen and stuff, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, definitely interesting slide that we're seeing the Astros. But I think this, I don't think it'll continue.
I wonder if it's going to be whether they're going to stick with the 5-man rotation or put Christian Javier back in to stay with the 6-man that they've been rolling with. I don't know. That's one thing. But I think that bullpen's, I think that's their Achilles heel, actually. Getting games to Ryan Presley seems like that could be, that's been a little bit of a problem for them.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. That's definitely a spot where I think they can try to upgrade. They have some arms that they could, like I said, bring up and just give them some 1 or 2 inning stints. But let's see what they do there for sure.
Liam Hendricks is in the game right now for the White Sox. They're up 8-4 on the Twins. It is not a save situation. I know you and I were talking about how we wanted to squeeze another save here. Do you have, how much of Hendricks do you have? How much of early closers do you have?
So it's funny. So like during draft champion season, I not a big early save guy. I speculated pretty late on one of my DC teams. It's kind of really hurting me right now because I'm like leading pretty much most of the offensive categories, and I'm like right there, like in the top 50 overall. But I have like 5 saves, and it's just not gonna. It's just it's like the only thing that really just didn't work on that team. But just even a little bit, yeah. But I have but when main event season came around, I went on one team I have Chapman, on one team I have Hendricks, and in the OC as well, I have Hendricks and a lot of Jansen too. So yeah, I wanted to lock that down, and I think next year too, I'm just going to really make a concerted effort to really maybe even get 2, double tap 2 in the 3rd and 4th rounds, like Fred Zinke and Jeff Zimmerman did in our tag team league. They did in the third and 4th round. They did those 2 guys, and it's just got to be. And I think in TGFBI I have Josh Hader and Edwin Diaz, and it's just amazing. Like when you don't have to fab closers, it's just such a great weekend when you don't have to filter through leverage index and win probability added and all this dumb stuff that I'm just like I'm tired of doing this. So
right.
It's been a blessing to have 2 good closers on in TGFBI. It's just and I know everyone says you could waste resources in the draft, but I'm tired of burning through fab dollars. Even if it's $5-7 on the next man up, possibly, it's just I'm tired of doing it.
Well, it's funny how we've gone kind of full circle. And last year, granted 2-month season, early closers were kind of a disaster. And this year it's been the exact opposite. We haven't been able to find much relief on the waiver wire. We found some guys. Yimi Garcia's been fine, a handful of others, but couple like 3 or 4 years ago, remember like the Cardinals, Bud Norris leads them in saves. He was like their 7th option, things like that. But we have so many teams now that do like the Reds with the leverage relievers and all that, and it's not one guy any given time, and there's no indication that's going to change. It's not like, and I actually think that the Reds, it's been to their detriment the way David Bell's managed that bullpen, but especially I remember way back when the Red Sox were like one of the first teams to experiment with this sort of role, and it blew up in their face, and it was like it took like 5 years for the next team to try that. But back then that was a little bit different because we're still like different era of managers, different era of media for that matter too. But
yeah, man, you just see how the success, it's so funny how much of a copycat league it is. Some teams just look at their Rays and they said, "Oh well, look how they did it." We could do it like that too. But I think I think you have to maybe not even have the right personnel, but the personnel has to have the right personalities too. Some guys just want the ball in the 9th, or some guys struggle in a non-save opportunity. I know people say it's not real, but some guys just like to come to the park and say, "Yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the closer." And and I know Amir Garrett said that in the preseason, and
we all bought it.
I
did.
Yeah,
I did a little bit.
Yeah.
Until like the Saturday of like the second Saturday main event draft weekend, like in the middle of that draft, David Bell said, "No, I'm not going to name a closer." I remember we were at the break and that came out. And Mike DeMouth had already taken Garrett in like the 9th round in that draft. So I was like, okay, fine. I didn't take Sims later. He Mike beat me to that too. But in that league, I'm searching for a closer. I've got McGee. I went McGee and Pagan, and obviously one of those 2 worked out okay. The other one, not so much. But God, I keep going back. What if I had Melanson right now? How nice would life be? But
right. What if the Braves had him? That's what I always think
Yeah,
about.
right. Although Will Smith is fine though.
Yeah, he is, but I just look at their bullpen. It's like really like lefty dominant, and I just feel like for that $3 million that they gave him, the Padres, and also Duvall. Like I feel like the two guys they let go of the Braves. I wish they probably wish they had back for sure, because their depth right now in the outfield is killing them, and the bullpen could be a little better.
The Reds, the Braves, a couple other teams it's very illustrative of how quickly relievers burn bright and then they burn out. Or maybe not burn out, but they fade away pretty fast too.
I think Garrett's got to be the guy going forward right now, though. He's been pretty good in the last, 2-3 weeks. He's really gotten his first pitch strike and his, his walk percentage down, and he's looks like he's starting to find his own. I think, you need wins. You're playing well. Just I feel like David Bell I'm sure more, but he just feel like he really hyper manages every overmanages every situation possible.
Yeah. He hasn't met a double switch he hasn't liked yet. In the fifth inning, oh, come on, dude, stop already.
But is that on Baseball Reference, like the most double switches?
No, this is just it's all just biased observation as a Reds fan. Right. You're listening to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Jeff Erickson here with Rob DiPietro. You can listen to Rob at the Pull Hitter Podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at DeadPullHitter. This podcast is sponsored by WynnBET Sportsbook, WynnBET.com. Go check that out. If your locality allows online sports betting, please check them out. WYNNBET. We'll have more details on them later, how to take advantage of their offers. A couple more news items, and we'll jump into other issues that we're dealing with right now. Boston Red Sox just crushed again today. They destroyed Kansas City, destroyed them the whole series. Their lineup's on hot fire right now. They took care of the Yankees over the weekend. Are we buying them? Are they going to make that like extra move at the trade deadline to kind of take a chance here? I mean, they're starting to put some distance on the Yankees, and the Rays even are 3.5 games back now. What's your take on the Red Sox?
Yeah, I think they're, it's amazing how everyone was kind of saying, they maybe need to do a little rebuild a year, but Eovaldi's been great as a starter. The bullpen's been good. Getting Chris Sale back in any capacity is going to be a shot in the arm. And I think personally, if they bring him back as just, like an opener, a bridge to the closer, maybe even closes out games too, going that John Smoltz route of coming back from injury and just being a multi-tool guy. I love it. I mean, Rafael Devers, 20 homers and 69 RBIs. That's unbelievable. He was one of the players that in draft season, I think the biggest thing I learned this offseason was like the diversification route at some spots, where I wanted to, instead of just being all in on a player. And Devers was a guy that I wanted too much of, and I wish I got more of him. But still, what a great year at third base. And I think they're here to stay. I mean, I think they're probably going to have to add some pitching depth at some point, because Garrett Richards looks like he was definitely using the sticky stuff. And but Pavetta's been okay, and like I said, I think if they get Chris Sale back in any form, I think they can keep some distance, especially from the Yankees and the Blue Jays, who are 8.5 and 9 games back. So very impressive by the Red Sox for sure. Yeah,
and like almost every other team, they'll be looking for another arm in the bullpen to bridge those games to the Barnes and Ottavino, who've been fine. Barnes especially has been good. Remember, that was the Barnes Ottavino thing's another one of those situations where he kind of got thrown. Remember that same day as I was talking about that draft, or the main event draft, that morning Barnes went on the COVID list, and and we didn't know full details. As we found out, a lot of times sometimes it's contact tracing, and they're on for 2 or 3 days, but they can't say it is that. We can't get any elaboration. So, oh God, freak out. I guess it was that 50-50 call. I guess it's going to be Ottavino. Someone got Barnes at a huge bargain because of that.
Huge bargain. And I blame Todd Zola. He got me too locked into Ottavino. Not that I picked Ottavino anywhere, but I was kind of looking at Barnes in a lot of spots late, and then Todd was obviously huge on Ottavino, and I know he took him early in some drafts, and I'm like maybe he's kind of right. Maybe they didn't bring him over to close the game. So another thing about the Red Sox too is that they could really improve via the farm. They got a bunch of talent down there too that they could bring up in Duran and down. So they're in a good position right here for sure.
Too bad those guys can't pitch, but and especially with Duran. I mean, the problem with him is he's an outfielder, right? So that's the one spot they don't really need any help. Now injuries happen, and maybe someone moves to first base, but that's the one spot I feel like they're pretty strong there. Especially Renfroe's been coming on strong lately.
What a great season of Renfroe, 270. He's improved as a hitter all the way around for sure. Yep. Been very impressed with what he's done so far this year. I guess they just have to make a determination. Maybe they could just stick Kiki at second base full time, and put Duran in the outfield. Because sometimes it looks like Danny Santana is gonna come alive, and then most of the times he doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. And Chavis and Dahlbeck too are going through their struggles, and I think they might be better just used, sparingly if they're able to.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Josh Donaldson made a name for himself this week, as always. He's been loud about the whole sticky stuff thing to begin with. He's one of the guys that's kind of moved that needle a little bit. Yeah. But then when he did the no sticky stuff thing after the homer off of Giolito, of course Giolito went off, and then Donaldson fired right back, and then homered in his first at bat yesterday too. Wild stuff. He's another guy. He could get traded, although his contract's pretty crappy. I don't know. It would be hard to trade him for value. He might be traded, but I don't think they'll get much for him. But what's your take on Josh Donaldson and his whole thing, both as a player and how he's acting?
I thought the no sticky thing was really cool, and I think he was right in saying, like he said, say it to my face. I did it in your face, like I did it at home plate. Like, what do you want him to do? Charge the mound and do it in your face? So I don't know. I think Giolito was obviously a little grumpy about it. Sure. And for sure, but what you got to do? You got to silence him on the next at bat. You got to just get him out. You got to strike him out. And Donaldson's that player. And I think this is just part of his personality and part of the way he is in the clubhouse. The team does need a shot in the arm. They're not playing to their expectation. So sometimes the guys just take on their own personality and just try to infuse the team with something, with some energy. So obviously, it was funny in some ways, the way he did it. But he's going to be that guy. And for his skills, I mean, if he's healthy and he's in there, he hits, and I think that any team who would want to take on that contract and give him some days off here and there would benefit from Josh Donaldson. I don't think he hurts the team at all.
Unfortunately, he didn't exactly inspire the team to do all that well, especially because pitching is still a thing, and they got swept by the White Sox. They lost 8-5 today. Our guy Hendricks gave up a run. That sucks, but yeah, they could be sellers, and there's very few sellers on the market. The Twins actually have some stuff worth selling. Right. Jose Barrios, obviously. Rogers would garner a lot of trade interest. A hard throwing lefty, the effective lefty out of the bullpen. That would be something that a lot of people would be interested in. Donaldson is maybe a tough sell because of the contract, but there's parts that the Twins could sell, and they may not even have to do a teardown. They could do a reboot. I was reading Brandon Warren's email newsletter that he does, a Substack newsletter.
That's a great newsletter, right?
It is.
I like it.
And he was talking about that, in that, especially in that division. Right. I think the White Sox are pretty well set for a good long time, but any other team in that division, the Indians tore down a lot, and KC and Detroit are well on their way, but they still got lots of room to improve. I mean, I don't think it would take that much to start it back up again.
Right, I think so. I think, and I like what they're doing with their young guys. Like keeping Larnach and Kurloff in the lineup, getting them at bats, and they're getting prime spots too. They're batting third and fourth on some days. So I like to see that. I hope that, keeps up. And, Buxton was a huge loss. He's become one of the best hitters in baseball. And it's crazy to say, but he's showing legit skills in the last 2 years that it's just, eye popping. And it's a shame that he can't, stay on the field. And obviously the last one, getting hit by a pitch on the hand is, not, that's just a lot of guys are getting hit, and some of them just don't move. I just don't understand. Like they just they see the ball almost all the way to their hands. I get it's coming in quick, but some of the guys really don't move too much. It always blows my mind. Like just get out of the way,
Yeah.
But I think I think Maeda has been just a disaster this year.
Yes, he has.
I'm glad I didn't get him anywhere. I totally wasn't buying it. He became a fourth round pitcher all of a sudden in that short season. So and KC, just talking about the division, they've been a disappointment too. And it's just I know a lot of people pinning their hopes on Bobby Witt, but they have a 1% chance of making the playoffs. I don't think you're going to see Bobby Witt this year. That's just my opinion.
You don't
he
see
should
him at
be.
all, huh?
I don't think so. I think he should be there, but I don't know if they're going to do it. I mean, they've had the opportunity. They've been riding Hunter Dozier's 160 average. They've been rolling out Gutierrez and all these bums at third base. Like they had the chance to bring him up,
Yeah. The thing is, I think, they got to get him to AAA too. You can't even call him up straight from AA right now because of the protocols. You have to send him to AAA. That'll be our sign. If they make that promotion up, okay, well then maybe he's got a chance of getting a call this year. But if they leave him down there until August, then we're not going to see him for sure.
Who made this protocol up? I don't get it.
It's all COVID related. I mean, it's
just nuts.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to speak for that. That's for sure. But I think that's a good sign though. Okay, well, are we going to expect these guys to get the call? Well, if they're making the move up another level, we'll see. I mean, Julio Rodriguez got up to AA, but he's still got to get to AAA before they can make that next step. I don't think we see him this year either.
Right. I agree.
All right. Hey, if you are watching the live stream, we're going to take a pause for 2 seconds. If you're listening on the podcast, you're going to hear an ad right now. And now we're back. All right. Good times. All right. So I wanted to cover a couple things. This podcast, of course, is sponsored by WynnBET. Please support them. WYNNBET. Go ahead and if you're allowed to bet online, bet there. I'm talking to Rob DiPietro. You can check him out at Dead Pull Hitter, the Pull Hitter podcast. Let's talk midseason managing. Yesterday was a big run scoring day. We're dealing with the sticky stuff issue. It's also hot weather, and hot weather usually begets more offensive production. All the way, it peaks usually in August. So we're going to start to see a lot of homers every day. And, we're seeing a lot of that already. What midseason adjustments are you making after relatively quiet April and May?
Oh, I've been thinking about this pretty much daily, and I think I have two posters on my office wall right here, and one is KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid, right. And the other one is FTN, and it's just fade the noise, fade the nonsense, and I'm trying to determine what is the nonsense is, but I don't know. To me, I just feel like if you're not going to find a legit way to quantify these changes, unless you're Phil Dussault, the robot, right, you probably will figure it out. I don't think that I will be able to personally make an adjustment that says, here's the difference maker, because I still think that what takes precedence is going to be team needs, filling at bat, I still think those things are going to take precedent over any changes that we see. Obviously, if you're in a trade league and you see, pitchers that are really looking like they're missing any type of substance, but I still think that it's too early to determine that, right? Because I still think that you have to, my thought is these guys are professionals and they're the best in the world at it for a reason. So, okay, yeah, you took something away that they might have been using, but also they can adjust, right? They can make these changes. They're still that good that they could adjust. And how are you going to quantify how they're going to adjust to? It's just, I don't know. It's too much to really, I think, make a sudden, drastic change.
I think you're right. And we had some responses even a couple of weeks ago when they started announcing all these changes were going to happen, that the biggest adjustment is preparing for next year. That's what's going to change. But you know what? It may not apply though, because we're going to have a new collective bargaining agreement. We're going to have, Probably. I mean, we may have a work stoppage for all we know. Knock on wood, hopefully not. But what applies now may not apply in the spring anyway. In
Probably a new ball.
Yeah.
There's one every year.
Yeah. It's gonna be made by Titleist next year. This is the adjustment to that, but we'll see. They're gonna buy out Rawlings, and we'll have that whole thing again. But there you go. The other midseason adjustments. There's lower fab amounts for everybody. If you notice, we get that great article every week by Todd Whitestone. Is that?
Yes. Yes.
Talking about the percentage of fab that's being spent every week. The high bids are getting smaller. We only had, I think, 5 guys that drew $100 bids last week. There's going to be other weeks where that's different. We're going to get some big prospects called up. Maybe it's not Bobby Witt, but there'll be someone that gets that call that we'll be having this feeding frenzy for. But we have to lower our bids now. We have to because we have to have something left for September still.
Right.
That's a lesson I learned the hard way in the main before. You got to have at least $50 a fab. Maybe in trade leagues and other home league formats, you don't need it. But in our formats in the NFBC, you definitely have to have saved something for the end. So it's tough to kind of pace yourself here. I mean, it's still the first week of July. We got a lot left to get now.
Right. And it's Todd's been great. He actually comes on my podcast every Monday and Tuesday, and we go over his article and we review the player trends. It's been really great to just concentrate on those things this year, because this is my first full season playing the NFBC, and especially the main event and online championships. And so I'm really just trying to spend a lot of time, away from player evaluation and just looking at the league trend, looking at how much fab people have, looking at how active they are. Have they been active in the last 2-3 weeks? Maybe the guy behind you in saves hasn't participated much. So I think those things are really key. And just being aware of those things has really helped me, I guess, be a little more conscious of my fab moves. Like one of my main events, I have about $560 left, and another one I have $260 left. And that was, so I'd probably be in the same range as my other league, but I went high for Alex Manoah, and I really needed pitching. So that was my highest bid of the year. But yeah,
what did you get him for?
280.
Okay.
But I was also on vacation and having a good time, so I juiced up that bid a little too much.
There you go. Party on, Wayne.
What are you going to do?
Where was your vacation this year?
Me and my wife, we went to North Carolina in Corova Beach with a bunch of her family, which was pretty cool because it was like a 9-mile drive on the sand just to get to the house that we were staying at. And so it was really something else. It was wild horses there. It was a pretty cool scene.
Is that out in the Outer Banks, or?
It is. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All the way out in the Outer Banks. Yeah. So it was my first time there, and it was a good time.
Excellent. Like hearing that. Hearing that.
Yeah, you got to get out and enjoy life, right, Jeff? I know you've taken some time too recently as well. I just think it's so important, to just remember that life is really short, and that just go out and, if you can, if you can financially do it, or if you could just take an escape for a couple of days, just do it as much as you can, for sure.
Yeah, I play I do a golf tournament, a golf trip every year with my buddies, and I'll do that again this year. And had the family vacation early this year in June, and that was fantastic. Took a full week Twitter hiatus. I didn't know what to do with myself, but I managed, got by somehow.
That's another thing too that I highly recommend. There's some days where, the chat and the topics are just not in my zone, and I say, nope, see ya, and I know, like, I'm trying to, I'm like conflicted. I'm trying to make a name for myself and grow my followings and post and tweet and, and do content. But sometimes, like 3-4 days where I just stay away, you just need it. It's a good refresh,
Yes, it absolutely is. Got some breaking news real quick. Gonna throw to that, and we'll get back to general things. Yoan Moncada left with a right wrist injury in today's game. He's got some swelling. He'll probably miss the weekend against the Tigers. So, he'll probably be without him. They said they'll probably be back for the Minnesota series next week. We'll see. Sometimes these things take a life of their own. And keep in mind, we got an All-Star break 1 week after. So, I could see it going. He's not on the IL now, but be prepared to be without him for a while is the way I look at it here.
So now we're not going to get power or speed. I mean, I stayed away from Moncada. Like I was never a big fan of the full skill set. And I know a lot of people, pegged it on COVID last year, but he's
I
pretty
did.
much doing the same thing he did last year. Yeah, I know. It's just, it's pretty wild. And his last, where I just pulled it up, the last 539 plate appearances, 11 homers, 2 stolen bases. Joey Wendell's better than that, which is pretty
I was
wild.
going to say, Gleyber Torres is like, man, that's weak.
Oh, yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned him, because I was looking at rest of season projections, and like Joey Wendell and Gleyber Torres were stuck next to each other, and I was like, wow, who would have predicted this? Like just really lost at the plate, Gleyber Torres. But Moncada, it's tough with him, because the wheels, he left the wheels in 2019, and now he's not going to really, hit for power as well. So I just think I don't think he's ever going to reach that level that we expected him to.
I only have one share of them, but it happens to be the main. So that's suboptimal, to say the least. And sometimes you don't mind having one guy only in the main event, but that's if he's good.
Especially if you like the skill set and you like the player. That's one of the biggest things I'm trying to learn this year is, when to drop a guy. It's tough. If you really have even maybe not a high draft capital, we just like the player, you like the skill set, and you're just like, when do I let go? And it's so funny because I mentioned it my first OC that I tried this year. I really like the deeper league. So, but on the last night of drafting, I jumped into an OC. And after I was done, I was immediately like, man, I should do more of these, because I loved how stacked the team was, compared to. But I think my 15-team brain messed me up with when to drop like a guy like Ian Happ. I just dropped him this weekend in a 12, and I definitely kept him too long in the 12. But so it's just things like that where you really have to dive deep. And I think that's like probably one of the flaws in my game that I'm trying to improve is I'm always looking at fab. And who to add, and I'm never really looking enough at my own team. So I've made a conscious effort to just pull up last 14, every week during Fab and check my team as well, and assess that, because a lot of times we're like Nick Solak, he's just another guy too. Like he just rolled along, and if you didn't look what he was doing recently, you'd probably think, oh, he still got 9 homers and 10 stolen bases, like he's doing fine, but he really wasn't.
Although he did homer this week, right?
Yes. Of course, after I dropped him too this weekend. And Hap, but I went for Hiora. I needed power, so I'm hoping the Hiora first Olek swap can boost me up that.
Yeah, Hero's been fine. I did pick him up in a couple leagues, and including one of my OCs. And you're right. When to cut bait on the 12s is a big different animal. But you got to realize. And one of the things I'm training my brain to realize is it's not final. You can always reunite. You may have to pay for that privilege a little bit in Fab, but it's not forever. You can do that. So, and meanwhile, especially these marginal guys when they have 5 games or their day to day and all that, use that axe a little bit, wield that axe a little bit more often. I think I haven't been as aggressive as I should have been also this year, and you get that 15 versus 12 mentality, and it's tough. So, and especially if you play in a lot of Fab leagues, and I have 9 Fab leagues on Sunday, and different formats, like 6 in the NFBC platform, 1 in Labor, AL Tout Wars, the RotoWire Staff Keeper League. They're all different. They all have different things going on there too. So
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot of different evaluations and stuff to do. I'm trying every week. I'm like another post-it I have on my wall is start Fab earlier, and it's just like I'm just trying to remind myself, even to start it on I'm trying to get into a rhythm. Like I download the free agents, I check a look at the rest of the season projections, I check a look at this week's projections, and I've been trying to at least just I know Scott Henstad always mentioned, like his first thing to do, he sets his lineup that next week. And because I think that was the problem I had last year was I was doing so much research, right, before I actually saw who I really needed, and I'm like, man, I just wasted like 2 or 3 hours probably diving into people that I don't need, so that's a great first step. Make sure you have, just focus on those guys that you're going to need to fill your team out, and then go from there.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. Another great tip, Batflip Crazy Toby mentioned last year when Adam was, he starts his like Fab research on like Saturday night. Kids are in bed, the house is quiet, it's not a party animal, and neither am I. So, I mean, that works out pretty well. If you're not going out Saturday night, that's a good way to spend your time.
Right.
It's quiet. You get a chance, and then you can even enjoy some of your Sunday that way, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not completely dead to the family time there.
That's the move, 100%. And I heard that. I heard him mention on his podcast too, Toby. But I even tried to take it a step earlier. Like the last 2 weeks, I've been doing Thursday, Friday during the day. I'll just throw in at least just my drops and my main ads with like a dollar, and then just go back and just tweak it. With the last 2 days. Even then, I still find myself on Sunday just doing more than I might need to, but it's just that fear of missing out. It's fear of missing out on information. It's just there's so many good things out right now. There's so much good content to consume, and you just want to look everywhere and make sure you're not missing anything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's dig into you a little bit more. So I know you won the overall Draft Champions League. That's how you kind of cut your teeth in the NFBC. Is that how you got into fantasy, or was there another format you started playing before that?
I started playing in home leagues in about 1999, but my roots in fantasy started really, really young. I have 3 older brothers, and my father would buy us the Stratomatic like every 5 or 6 years, and we didn't have enough money to get it every year, but we got it like every 5 or 6 years. And on rainy days, that was it. Like we played outside during nice days, and on rainy days it was just Stratomatic. It was drafting teams, making lineups, and I think that's what really set it off as like a trigger. Like this is awesome. I love doing this. I learned how to keep score, learned how to manage a team, and then I think we played our first official fantasy league that I played with my brothers and 3 of their friends. It's so funny. It was the strike shortened year of 1994, and my oldest brother Joe, keeps everything. So he actually had the sheet that we kept track of score on. But we drafted teams after the season. We just picked guys after the season was over, and we just had those stats, and I won, based on Mike Piazza and Raul Mondesi's great season. But so that was the start of it. And then in '99 I started a home league that's still going now. It's a keeper league, 10-man keeper league, head-to-head categories. And then I think in like 2012, no, probably a little later than that, 2013, I played my first Roto League, real competitive Roto League, and I was like really hooked. I was like, oh wow, this is the way to play too, So that's why I've been phasing out head to head a little, as much as I can. I think I have one daily league that's head to head, but and one home league that's still head to head, but not daily moves. And but yeah, just went full on Roto. And so when I met my wife, she was kind of like, oh, you spend a lot of time doing this fantasy baseball stuff, and but little by like every year, when I said, where you want to go on vacation, I won my fantasy league again, like won my home league again, or so we would just use it for like paying bills or going on vacation. But one year she's like, you should use it for yourself, do something for yourself this year with it. And I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to try this NFBC league, So I stashed some money aside. I wanted to play in the main event. So I read about it, on several websites, and I was like, you know what? It's time to test my mettle there. And so that's what I did. I did a draft champions league. I did one draft champions league last year that, the single bullet win, which was amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. What a way for it to, and that draft was in March, so it's like had this full team that drafted pre-COVID and still like wrote it out. And, that was the thing. Like, I know like a lot of people skipped out on the main last year, but I had I've been waiting for that moment. I played in it last year and I got my ass handed to me, but it was well worth, that experience of playing in leagues with Rob Silver and Phil Dussel, like, and Mark Aribo, just learning like, okay, wow, this is what I got to do to get better, and now I'm just hooked, it's a wonderful community, for sure. And, just striving to get better, because I know that, it's crazy, but like when the clock ticked and I won that night and it was like first place, my wife was looking at me like, are you okay? And I'm just like, all right, I got to figure out how I'm going to do this next year. It was like this one Kobe Bryant thing that I really love. When they won the champion, one of the finals wins they had. I think it was like they put him up 3-2, and he said he was he just went into the gym because he shot 5 for 12 at the free throw line. That like he was never like never satisfied, and kind of had that feeling in myself like, all right, now I gotta get better because because there's a lot of work to do. So, and I think that's
Absolutely.
the most important thing, to know that that there's still work to do. There's always ways to get better. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you what do you do full time? What do you do for a living?
I was a carpenter.
Oh, that's right. You know what? You told me that.
Yeah.
You hosted. That's right.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
sorry you had the injury.
Yes. Yeah, I got hurt at work, and I'm still out of work. So we'll see what happens in the future. I'm going to be able to get back to it. Right now, my arm isn't healing that great. So we'll see what happens. But it's given me the opportunity to, get to know such wonderful people and start a podcast, because it was the first thing that my wife did. She said, all right, you're going to have some time off, buy a microphone, see what you got to do to start a podcast. And I'm like, I can't do a podcast. These guys are great. I can't do it. But, it gave me the opportunity and the time. That was the thing. Gave me the time to really dive in, and now I love it. So I'm super happy that I got the opportunity to do that and to get into this industry and meet a whole bunch of wonderful people, which I can't wait to meet everyone in person, because I think that's going to be awesome.
It will. It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's awesome that your wife is very supportive of that. It's glad that that's like a healthy thing between you guys.
So healthy. Healthy, Jeff. Like I really I couldn't praise that enough, because it gives me the ability to know that she's not looking to kill me when I spend too much time at Fab, and but he knows I'm good at it, and he knows I love doing it, and she's independent, so it's really good to have that, for sure. I couldn't do it without it. Oh, we met online. We met on eHarmony.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, old cool story. I was rehabbing from a neck surgery. I had a major neck surgery. I had a tumor removed from my right on my neck, and I was rehabbing. I couldn't go out. I had no money. And I was on the shelf for like 15 months, and I met her online, and it was great. Everything's been great since then.
That's awesome.
I
love hearing that.
Yeah.
One of the things you also like to do, because when I planted a garden this spring and I was a little late, and you were jumped in like, yeah, I've got this set up here, and you got quite the garden going on in your backyard.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we love to do. Me and my wife are full vegetarians, so we rely on the garden to really, get our boost of nutrition during the summertime. We have a mother-daughter, and my mother is downstairs, and it's good having the old Italian secrets in the back pocket.
Nice.
Because she tells me stories of my grandfather was a big gardener, and so she's there with the tips and helping out, and it's just honestly, when my hand's in the dirt and I'm just like, I have my headphones on, I'm listening to podcasts or music, it's just a different, it's true bliss, honestly. Like if I could probably go back in time, I think I would have bought a farm a long time ago and just done that. Wow. Because I don't know, I know a lot of people used to tell me that, once you got your hands in the garden, it's just like a beautiful escape. It's just the true, you're connecting yourself into the ground, into the earth, and so I love that feeling, for sure.
What are you growing right now? What's working best for you?
So we have probably about 5 or 6 tomato plants, 4 cucumbers. We got eggplants, peppers, hot peppers, zucchini.
Nice. Is your zucchini plant taking over?
Yeah, it takes over.
I've got one too, and it's massive. It takes over everything else in its little plot. It's amazing.
Right. So are you getting enough zucchini?
Oh yeah, they're the one thing that came in right away. I got to pick them quicker almost. They're huge.
Right. That's
grow the zucchini of unusual size, but
and otherwise you get too many seeds too that way. If you let it go too big, it gets a little wah. But it's just cool learning different things. So I'm a big I'm big into like the moon and the astrology, and I'm big into like moon phases. I feel like so, and I learned that a lot of the gardening, tips in the Farmer's Almanac stems around the moon phase. So
really, I did not know that.
Yeah. If you can get your hands on the Farmer's Almanac and just look it up, there's certain vegetables that you want to plant during the new moon, and there's certain that you want to plant during the full moon, because most of them actually is the new moon, because it's like the highest moisture level in the air, and it's the most gravitational pull. So it's actually, and a lot of the old sayings from like, really back in the day, it was just like, the new plants start with the new moon, like they're in unison, they work together. And I would say too, like if you have an opportunity to gather like a rain barrel and reuse that water, it's so much better than just using the tap water if you can, because it just really blossoms that way for sure.
If we ever got any rain, I'd do that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's our.
Are you allowed to do that? Because I know some states can't even gather rainwater. It's like not allowed.
Well, we haven't had any rain since April, I don't think.
Wow.
So
yeah,
that's,
so you can't,
and unfortunately that's way too normal these days. And our rainy season wasn't as rainy this year. It's going to be a really dry summer. It sucks, but we had a lot of we had a big fire pretty close to us last year. So it's different times there. That's a whole nother topic. Yeah, that'll be
real. That's real.
FantasyWildfire.com, but we'll hit that some other time. I love it. But
that's funny.
Ready to hit a couple questions before we sign out here?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. J-Rod asks, if you're going to trade Kyle Tucker, how high of a starting pitcher would you need before you accept? He's nervous post sticky stuff, but got offered Giolito. It's a 12-team roto, 162 start and 1,400 max, so quality is key. Tucker's already on fire, already dealt JD Martinez for Woodruff, but still first and second in all hitting.
Man, I think if it's a keeper league, you go Kyle Tucker. I just think the kid is blossoming into something, and I'm a big Giolito fan. I took him high in a lot of spots this year. I took him as, in the first round, 8th overall, but I just really love what Kyle Tucker is doing. I think he's going to morph into the 30-30 player with a great hit tool that we're expecting. Just everything checks out for me looking at Kyle Tucker. So, and I think, I think you got to go with the bat right now for sure.
All right. I like that too. I'm with you on that there. Todd Whitestone actually replied to us yesterday, and I missed that. Yes, I asked you to recommend that Rob reenact his live auction setup in New York from this past March. Others can learn from your approach.
When I did I did a live podcast after our live main event in New York, the first one, the first one of the season, and it was pretty cool. It was interesting getting everyone's. It was just loud. It was nuts. Everyone was talking. I just met these guys and I got them on the air. It was pretty fun. I liked it. Awesome. Enjoyed it. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, got to know a lot of the the older players in the game, and guys have been doing this for a long time. So it was fun.
Joe Harper ever?
What's that? So you broke up a little bit. I can't hear you.
Yeah. Bryce Harper. Joe G says, will Bryce Harper ever hit another homer with a runner on base?
I hope so. I have Bryce Harper in a ton of spots. It's that low RBI total is really something else. But I think Bryce Harper, it's funny, like he's one of those guys that gets so much criticism, but if you really just take a step back and look at the scope of what he's done, in his career, if he wasn't Bryce Harper, it would be a career that a lot of people would take, and say, this is good. It's a good career. But, and I think his lineup's got to improve in front of him and around him, I don't think but getting Gene's Agora back and Baum's really starting to pick it up recently. So, hopefully that those 2-inning and those 2 3-run homers can pick up for Bryce Harper.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we got some breaking news. We'll close out with that. Trey Turner is not in today's lineup. We opened up the podcast with him with his.
Oh no.
He's got a finger issue. I wonder if it was on that head first slide when he was sliding into third base on the triple. Jammed his left middle finger. Considered day to day.
There was, because I know he was. Yeah, he does that dive where he comes in with the left, and he was like fist pumping or something with his right. He was celebrating. So, oh God, I hope that's not too long. Come on, Trey, get back in there.
Rain out would do them a little bit of good, but
Right.
One day. But he's not in the lineup. So Castro's moving to shortstop. Alex Avila at second base.
What? That is wild. Yeah, that can't. Oh man, there's so much crazy
stuff. I got to look up the lineup now to see if that's true. But yeah, sure enough, there he is. Second base.
Wow, that's really something else.
Thanks.
That's I wasn't expecting that. I didn't even know he could play second base. There's some crazy stuff that's happening this year with so many position players pitching. It's just really wild.
It is. It really is. All right. Well, thanks everybody for the questions. Thanks for tuning in. We got Todd and Clay tomorrow, 2-star starters. Looking forward to that as always. Thanks to WynnBET for sponsors. Thank you, Rob, for joining me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you for having me. Once again, I love what you do for the community, and it's just it really is inspiring and motivational. I think to look at anyone who can revolve their life around sports and fantasy and giving people great information and great shows, it's really cool. And this is definitely the highlight of my podcasting guesting career for sure.
Well,
I appreciate it.
You're too kind. You're very kind. I mean, you bring the good stuff, and I'm happy to have you on. I'm everybody that I bring on, I feel like I'm the one that benefits from that. So I appreciate the kind words, but I thank you. It's been awesome. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We're going to be back again, Todd and Clay tomorrow, and Scott and I on Sunday night. Take care.